Hello, hello. I am Miranda Suess, a New York and New Jersey wedding photographer, and I want to talk to you about bad photos and what makes a bad photo and why you should stop making these bad photos. And also kind of talking to myself here because sometimes I send these bad photos to clients and I need to stop. I need to stop being lazy. Never will I ever send another bad photo ever to a client ever, never again. All right, so before I get started with this video, if you guys can quickly please subscribe to the video so you could subscribe to my channel, and so you can be updated with more photo and wedding related things. Now, these bad photos are my own. I am not using anyone's pictures. These are photos from my past work, from my real case scenarios, and I did not manipulate these photos. I literally just went through my cloud and pulled some images that I thought were terrible, and I need to share with you guys so you don't do this for your clients or just be better for yourself and your art. Let's begin. This is actually the first ever wedding I photographed. It was back in 2017 when I was living in LA, sunny old LA, and beginning to pick up my camera again after a very long time. And I wanted to shoot people, and I wanted to shoot them at a wedding scenario. So it happened that my boyfriend's family members were getting married, and they didn't hire anybody. It was it was more like an elopement and just bringing a bunch of family together. Not even a DJ, nothing, just them getting married and, making it legal. I asked them for permission. I was like, hey, is it okay if I photograph you guys just for some practice? And they said yes. Okay, so this first image that I'm going to share with you guys is something that I see often with first-time photographers. Example, I was a first-time wedding photographer, and I don't want to see this anymore. And I feel like if you're somebody that's been in the industry for a while and this isn't something that you're prone to do anymore, but okay, so first of all, lighting matters. The light matters. Understanding where the light is and how it affects facial features is really important to discover. This shot here, I know, terrible. This shot here was literally in the middle of the day, so you're gonna have the harsh light. I put them in a backdrop that was very dark, but also not pretty. I also used a higher f-stop, meaning maybe an f10 or something like that. No shallow depth of field. I didn't understand how the light was hitting their faces. I thought, oh, put them here no matter what. I have a professional camera. It is high resolution. And no matter what, my photos are going to look amazing because I spent a lot of money on this camera. Wrong. So yeah, that doesn't fly. So this photo is terrible for many reasons. And I've already listed a couple, but if you can't even turn a photo to black and white and make it look good, it's a really bad picture. Moving on. Okay, so this was maybe my second wedding. They paid me $700 to shoot this wedding, and this is when I moved to Brooklyn, New York. I definitely think it was $700 worth of photography for this client. And this photo, for example, I got to stop seeing this. The Dutch angle doesn't work here. What I really need to stop seeing, though, is the whites of the eyes. Too much. So when you're posing somebody, you have to remind them when you're telling them to look a different direction to move their eyes in the same direction as their nose. For example, watch. I'm looking in the direction of my nose. If I say, look that way, and don't remind them to move their nose as well, you see way too much whites, and it's not pretty. It is my job, your job as a photographer, to pose your clients to make them feel good and look beautiful, in their images. So in this particular image, her hand is a distraction. Her arm being pressed against her body makes her arm look bigger than it is. I don't think it's at all appealing. So let's just say this is a bad picture. Moving on. Okay, so when I moved here in 2018 to New York City, I offered free engagement shoots. And that was one of my selling points to get some clients on like Facebook ads, things like that. So this particular client won the free engagement shoot, and they brought their dog, all the stuff. It was a pretty good session. And I have to critique this image because this happens a lot, and I still do this, and I need to stop. And I hope you guys can notice this as well as in your imagery, and to realize it's a bad image. So first of all, with this photo here, you could see a pole going straight through their faces. I should have never sent this photo to them because I had like 10 of the same like scene, but they were moved away from the pole. So I shouldn't have sent this photo particular. So the pole was going straight through, and that's a distraction. There's also a white box in the background that I could easily spot remove, because anything that's bright in the image, brighter than the subject, is going to draw the eye's attention to it. So that could have been definitely removed. Moving on. Okay, so my first styled shoot, it was actually pretty much a success because I did it in Arizona before I moved to New Jersey. I was visiting my family in Arizona, and there was a styled shoot one of my friends was doing that was a photographer. She had been in the game a little bit longer and invited me to be in the styled shoot with her as a photographer as well, so I can build my portfolio. And the only other thing I had in my portfolio was that terrible first wedding I did for a family member in California. So when I was in Arizona visiting family, we did this styled shoot. And this particular image, I'm just telling you right now, this entire gallery, this styled shoot gallery, should have been in black and white. Should have been in black and white because I did not know color correcting at that time. I didn't know. I was like trying to like play around with colors and getting the skin tones correct, and it wasn't working. So this entire gallery, everyone looks yellow. Like that's not a natural skin color. I successfully made some of the images white, like what's supposed to be white, but something with this balance in the skin tone was terrible. So that's something I feel like a lot of people in the beginning or even now still struggle with getting the skin tone correct. And when you're editing for a long time, you don't really notice it because you're just too fatigued to like your brain to function the color of a skin color. I don't know. But maybe just take a step back and before you edit, export the gallery in Lightroom to just reevaluate just to make sure. This particular image did not get me clients in New York when I first moved out here. There are other photos in the gallery that got me that $700 client from the past. Yeah, so there were other images in that gallery that were okay, enough for someone to spend $700 and trust me to come to their wedding day and shoot it. So, yeah, that's what's pretty bad about this particular image. I think it's this color correcting thing, and should have just made it all black and white, and it would have been better. Okay, so this particular image, I am not too mad about the color correcting at all. I think a lot of things are wrong with this. A lot of things are wrong with a lot of things are wrong with this image. In particular, on this wedding day, it was very chilly for someone in a dress with no sleeves on to be outside. And these are family portraits, so we were trying to knock these out fast. And the placement, I know she really wanted to pose in front of the lion statue. I should have directed them in a different position. And that bench in the background should have been gone. I don't know why I didn't think about lifting it out or what, but it's a terrible distraction. And then also the crop of this image. I still do this to this day, and it drives me nuts. I need to focus on this more, is to widen out the image a little bit more so you can crop in later, because what happens is I leave way too much room on the top of the head and then not enough room where the feet are. So moving slightly the camera angle down so you can get some more coverage of the feet and not cutting off, obviously, the head is important. So in this particular image, the head space is fine. It's just that I could have stepped back a little bit more and got more feet in that shot. And honestly, this could have been fine being a vertical photo instead of a landscape horizontal image that's shown here. It would have been much better. Okay, so you can see what's wrong with this image. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, so this particular photo is emotional. It's a moment that I had to send to the client no matter what. And at this time of editing this image, I don't know what the heck I was thinking. Why I did not do a spot removal tool. I was probably way too lazy that night editing or something. I think it's a really bad excuse for photographers or photo editor to make, but remove any distractions such as this light stand. Could have been so easy. What an easy fix to the photo. Another thing on the day of the wedding, what I could have done is just move that light behind the subject's head, and it would have created, if I had turned on that flash, would have created a nice glowing effect around her head. And you know what happens when you look at an image that has the brightest thing in the image, your eye gets drawn to it. So that could have been so much more effective. So that's just a note taken for next time, brain. Okay, do that. This was a wedding a long time ago. I've fixed that problem nowadays, but something I hope that you don't do in the future when you start to figure out what you're going to send to your clients. Okay, next picture. All right, so this next photo is obviously in a bridal suite. It's a bride getting ready with her bridesmaids and her mother. I think it's a nice picture. It's a 5 out of 10 picture. Mainly because it's a bad photo. And that's because there's way too much head space. Way too much head space and not enough. I cut off the dress. That's the subject in this picture, is the woman wearing a dress. And I put way too much focus on what is in her surroundings, on top of her head. Why? Why did I do that? So, take note. Don't do that. All right, another picture. This is our last picture. Okay, so this is at a wedding reception, Avi, right? And there are two things wrong with this photo and what makes it a bad photo. First of all is removing the exit signs. Remove it or desaturate the red in that spotted area. That's literally so fucking easy that you can do as photographers, as we're editing pictures. We could do is remove exit signs, okay, in our photo editing. And last thing about this image is off-camera flash in general. Add a grid so it doesn't spill on the ground in the foreground in front of you. So I could have used a grid on this so the light focused more on the couple coming in for the reception and less on the table in front of me that is the foreground. So that could have been an easy fix. I also could have darkened the area below, but I don't even think that would have fixed an overexposed bouquet of flowers, like white flowers. So just consider that is to add some grids on your lights in this particular scenario. Okay, so I think we covered it all. Bad photos. Actually, we didn't cover it all. I'll have to do another video. If this is something that you liked, please drop a comment below. If this is like a video that you're interested in and want to learn more about bad photos, or perhaps you want your photos critiqued, just leave a comment below. I'm happy to help out and serve the community and make you guys a better photographer, and myself too, because being a teacher, you actually teach yourself too as you're, giving lessons and stuff. So I really appreciate you guys sticking around and also looking at my bad photos and critiquing them yourselves, and hopefully taking some mind notes so you don't make these mistakes either. Anyway, happy shooting out there, and I hope all is good. Follow me on Instagram so you can see actually some good photos that I post. And I'd love to follow you guys too. So if you can just leave me a DM in Instagram saying that you watched one of my YouTube videos, I will follow you back. And guys, subscribe and let's be in touch. Have a good one, guys. Mwah! Bye! Okay, so this is a test to see how I sound, if the sound is working, blah, blah, blah.